Pokemon Showdown has implemented a pet mod where the Legends ZA Pokemon are playable in a metagame where they've invented abilities for the Mega Pokemon. So, of course, Mega Tyranitar, we know what Mega Tyranitar does. But Mega Skarmory, we don't know what its ability is. We know what its stats are, but we don't know the abilities. And also, we don't know the moves because Pokemon now has the ability to change the moves, right? Gen 9 moves are not all the moves that Pokemon had access to. And so, this metagame is just a home meta, meaning that any, or Nat Dex, any moves that can be learned by Pokemon are learned, with I think a few exceptions. But basically everything else is there. So that allows Pokemon like Scizor to be really good because it gets Roost back as Defog, and Tyranitar gets its Pursuit back. So that's why Tyranitar is on this team, because that allows it to trap a lot of Pokemon like Delphox that would otherwise be really problematic for Skarmory. Now, we can see here this Aegislash is one of the few Pokemon that's actually going to be able to beat Skarmory on this team. So we do want to be able to check it somehow. We have Volcanion, which is nice. We also have Scizor, which if you play your cards right and your opponent doesn't really know how to play Aegislash properly, you can beat 1v1. As we see here, they were trying to predict me to attack them, so they go for King Shield. I can Roost on that. If I had Sword Stance, that would also be an option. This Scizor is pretty defensive because we want it to be able to take a lot of hits, including that from Aegislash. And Clefable is actually unaware on this team, and that's very important because Greninja is a mega threat in this tier. Not only does it have its mega form, which is, of course, really strong in its own right, but now that Greninja gets Nasty Plot, it has gone from being a fast but not very strong attacker to actually being a really strong, really fast attacker. You'll notice that this team is pretty weak to Excadrill, but that's almost by design. As you can see here, this Skarmory's job is to deal with Excadrill. Now Skarmory, I started off having Iron Head in the beginning, but I quickly pivoted over to Brave Bird. Some Gourgeists you can one-shot with Brave Bird, and others you will two-shot. I believe even after burn, usually. And so you don't want to run Drill Peck, although you could run Drill Peck if you wanted to. But I definitely think you need the flying coverage more than you need the steel coverage. So in case the thumbnail and the title of this video didn't make it obvious, the point of this team is to run an offensive Skarmory that's actually defensive. So Mega Skarmory loses a few points in defense, but gets a lot in speed, and crucially, Mega Skarmory, at least for right now, doesn't have the weak armor ability, which means you can Mega Evolve and then get your defense boost with Iron Defense. Or you can get your Iron Defense boost and then get a speed boost with weak armor and then Mega Evolve. In any case, it means that you stop the bleeding from the weak armor defense drops, but you only need one speed boost to be fast in just about everything. And you can choose your speed investment accordingly. So, for example, this Skarmory actually does not outspeed everything in the metagame. I think I'm actually 2 points slower than max speed Gren, which is probably something you might want to fix if you're using this team yourself. But it outspeeds a lot of other things. I think it should outspeed Excadrill, but everything else is in defense and HP, in Spdef specifically, because you're not boosting your special defense at all. And Skarmory actually gets a nice healthy boost to its special defense when it Mega Evolves. So with your defense boosts from Iron Defense, you don't even really care when it speeds this battle up. It takes a while. You don't really care about the drop in defense points because you have your Iron Defense. So what is that doing? Here, my opponent has a pretty interesting team because they have Slurpuff plus Mega Malamar. The Sticky Web mean that a lot of Pokemon are going to be slower than Mega Malamar, who doesn't really have very good stats at all. But it also means that if I try to defog, I can bring my Mega Malamar in and get a +2 to evasion, which is pretty cheesy. Here I get a very fortunate burn to the Dragonite. Here I go into Scizor because I want to scout to see if it's physical or special. And also, while I'm here, I might as well get a defog off. Now I get to go into my Clefable because my Clefable is unaware, as previously mentioned. We are max Spdef, but we also have Moonblast, and Dragonite doesn't want to deal with that. Now, unfortunately, because we are unaware, we don't have the Magic Guard, which means that Gourgeist is a little annoying if I'm not in with my Skarmory or my Volcanion, because otherwise I could just take the Leech Seeds with Clefable, right? One trick with Skarmory is knowing when to Mega Evolve. Here, I Body Press, and I'm able to get off multiple Iron defenses. Fortunately, my opponent decides to go for the Avalanche instead of the Body Presses, I guess because they think it's stronger, which means I'm allowed to Roost here, because otherwise I'd be scared to Roost on the Body Press. They switch in on my Iron defense, and you see here we don't kill with Brave Bird. So as I mentioned before, it's more of a 2-hit KO situation, which is sort of annoying. This was a major misplay on my part that makes the battle drag out way longer than it should. I should have just killed them there with the Brave Bird. That's absolutely my fault, and it makes the battle take way longer than it needs to. Here I actually switch out, which I don't really think I should have done that either. I just didn't want to get PP stalled with my Roost, and they have a lot of Leech Seed plus Synthesis recovery. I wanted to stop that bleeding. As you see here, my opponent is not Mega Evolved yet. Mega Malamar in this metagame gets double boosts from Contrary instead of just the one. Mega Clef, or Unaware Clef, is actually fantastic for dealing with Mega Malamar as well, because yes, it could be a stored powered set, but aside from that, I don't care about its evasion boost, I don't care about its attack boost. So having Unaware Clefable really makes a lot of difference on this team. And you might look at it and say, well, why do you have a Unaware Clef next to a Tranitar? Well, the Tranitar is also extremely necessary for this team, and you'll see it put in a lot of work in this battle. So at this point, my Skarmory, even though it's burned, is going to basically win this game, and my Alakazam also can help to win the game. The Goodra still has a little bit of HP left, but they don't have a Wish Passer. There's no Umbreon or anything on this team, so we're good. There I go for the Iron defense instead of going for Body Press, because I want to Roost, and I wanted to be able to Roost safely on the Avalugg. And if they'd gone for Body Press, that could have been bad, right? So that again makes this game go a lot longer. But at this point, I'm just trying to make the safe plays, because I see a world where I just get whittled down by the Avalugg plus the Gourgeist, and I don't really want that to happen. I don't think I killed the Avalugg with a burned, non-invested Brave Bird, because this Skarmory has no investment whatsoever in attack. So I don't think I killed that with Brave Bird. And Body Press maybe killed, but I did want to get the Roost off. And also, I'm not sure if Body Press killed, if we're being honest. Body Press will kill the Goodra. And to this point, I sort of realized that we've stalled the Gourgeist enough now, where I'm pretty sure I beat it before it beats me. As you can see, it only has Foul Play, which means that I really don't have to care about Poltergeist or anything like that. I have 2 Roosts left, and they have 3 Synthesis left, right? And so with this Leech Seed, that's sort of annoying, but I know that they can't touch me. So the damage I'll be taking will be residual from Burn, residual from Leech Seed, but I think this is still fine. So I'm not going to switch out again, because they literally can't touch me with the rest of their team. And actually, at this point of the battle, if we look at the Malamar is low enough that Dazzling Gleam can KO. The Slurpuff is at 51%. I'm pretty sure Psyshock KOs that, and Avalugg doesn't usually want to stay in on Alakazam. So at this point, I'm just trying to get the Gourgeist to not be a threat, and I also know that they only have Foul Play, right? They're not going to hit me with a Poltergeist and take me down to my Focus Sash. So just mostly trolling a bit there with Skarmory, trying to get a safe switch into my Alakazam. Alakazam, Focus Sash means that I always guaranteed live a hit from any one of these guys. And as you can see, Alakazam sort of just cleaned up there. This team is sort of a weird one. You'll see that they have Hoopa, which is a pretty good Pokemon in this tier. And they have a Mega Chandelure. Mega Chandelure is whatever, it's okay. But I wouldn't put too much stock into it. my team really does not care at all about Mega Chandelure. I've got a Spdef T-Tar here, and that does not care. I go Scizor here on the Endeavor, not only because I am allowed to Bullet Punch, but also because I can Roost off, and so I don't care about the Endeavor. Here, this Chandelure is Pursuit trapped, and it cannot switch out. They try to switch out anyway, and I just fail them. This is a bit of a scary Lucario. I thought I could live. I have a lot of HP, but I guess it's not enough. So I'm forced to go into my Sash Jam to take this out. Fortunately, I'm able to do so. But that Lucario almost swept me. If I hadn't been Sash Jam, that would have been an issue. I could have scouted there for the Ice Shard on Glaceon, but it didn't really matter. At this point, the Floette has a lot of Spdef. The Psyshock will do an okay amount, but I don't need it. And the Hoopa, I get frozen here. Literally doesn't matter. I have Steam Eruption, one of the few moves in the game that absolutely defrosts you. So the freeze didn't matter. Hoopa would have been scary here if they had Gunk Shot, but it's okay because they got burned. So I can go into Fluff very safely there. And the Glaceon could have Freeze Dry, but it doesn't really matter. It's not super effective because I'm a Fire type. And once again, they did have Gunk Shot, but you can see they're burned. And if they had Drain Punch, they would have also been burned. I think the choice is on us. No, they're Soft Ice. I don't know why they would Drain Punch. Tyranitar choose this as well, and Stone Edge just one-shots the Floette. Floette has no defense to speak of. The Glaceon is a little bit annoying in this battle, but nothing we couldn't get past. As you see there, Freeze Dry does do a good chunk, but it does not KO me. And we always had Bullet Punch in the back, right? Okay, going on to the next one. Here we get to see our first Mega Starmie, and we see the return of Excadrill. Once again, the team is a little bit weak to Excadrill, but that's by design. Here I can come in, I can go for the Iron Defense, and if they hit me, then I get the Speed Boost. If they switch out, then I'm Iron Defensed up. There's nothing wrong with that. This, of course, the Dragon Tail set, Garchomp runs it, Gyarados runs it, and you'll see that Ice Punch. By the way, Ice Punch. And that's there for the Garchomps, it's there for the Dragonites. And here the Starmie is dead, and it doesn't even know it. Let's just pause it right there. Once again, okay, Ice Punch on the Garchomp. The Starmie comes in, and this Tyranitar has Pasho Berries, specifically designed for the Mega Starmies. Doesn't matter if you're physical, doesn't matter if you're special, unless I'm really low HP, I'll take you out there. A really nice set. Normally, in a lot of these metagames, especially newer gens, running a Resist Berry is not a good idea. I will say here, by the way, I misplayed this. First of all, I'm getting flinched, so that's unfortunate. But here, at this point, I should have Mega Evolved. Especially after the first time they outsped me after my Weak Armor boost, I should have known this was Choice Scarfed and I did not have to fear the Earthquake. So that is absolutely on me that I let this get out of hand like this. I live here on 1%, and I wouldn't have had to deal with that if I hadn't misplayed, but it is what it is. At this point, my opponent is misplaying for me, and I'm able to get out of that situation. So I have lost my defense boost, because here I'll be able to get off some chip. That was another misplay. I should have just immediately gone for Brave Bird instead of going for a 9 defense. But whatever. But it's okay, because we're just gonna have to deal with the Dragon Tail Gyarados. We already dealt with one Dragon Tailer on the Garchomp. Now we have a second one. Because of Dragon Tail, I know they're not Thunder Wave, so I'm actually safe to stay in with my Volcanion and go for a burn. Obviously, if they Roost, doesn't matter. Here we get a crit. I think that may have technically mattered, barely. But if they didn't go for Rest that turn, then it absolutely didn't matter. Here we're just going to go into Dragonite, or into Clefable, and see if it's a physical or special Dragonite. And now that we know it's physical, the game is basically over at this point. Because I won't get my speed boost, but I don't really need my speed boost. First of all, we see I outspeed this Dragonite already as is. The stat distribution they gave to Skarmory, Mega Skarmory, is nasty. Right, you're in 110 base speed, which means I barely have to invest into speed to be able to outspeed most of the metagame at +2. And even uninvested, I'm outspeeding a lot of these guys, including this Dragonite here. I'm assuming it's a little bit of a bulkier Dragonite probably, but they aren't really able to do anything. Here I decided to go for the Brave Bird instead of the Body Press because it is doing a bit more, as you can see. Even though the Body Press is boosted to +6, it is still a resisted non-stat move. Here they try to go for Rock Slide, Flunches into crits or something. I'm just going to Roost once because I'm not having that. But then we'll just finish off the game with a Body Press into Body Press, and that's it. So as you can see here in this game, the Mega Skarmory set, you could say that, hey, an offensive one may have been better, and maybe it would have been. But being able to just come in and set up on a Dragonite that's not got any special moves, and deal with Gyarados and Garchomp defensively, as well as offensively, is really nice. We got another Mega Starmie here, but this battle is actually going to revolve around some different Pokemon. I always Stone Edge the Slurpuffs, so I don't know why they switched in there. I'm not saying they should know, but I always switch in Stone Edge the Slurpuffs. But like, come on, I am a Rock type. Why are you switching in on me? This is hilarious. That is a banded 1,000 arrows from I don't remember if it's Adamant or Jolly, but it's banded. And the second one is super effective as well because I've been smacked down. And the fact that I'm able to live that is pretty crazy. Garchomp can Roost here at this point, or can Earthquake me at this point. I don't care, because I literally just saw that I live a banded 1,000 arrows. They get me into Alakazam, and because they choose to go for Spike instead of going for Earthquake or Dragon Tail, they're actually going to lose the game because of that turn. Going for the greedy Spike there is a really bad play, because I am Focus Sash, and that's going to allow me to live. Here I switch out. I don't want to take the chip on my Scizor, and I can just sack my Skarm. I don't need my Skarmory anymore. But Scizor at this point is really good because it can BP the Garchomp, and it is there mostly for Beedrill. Here you'll see this is a special Starmie. I'm assuming this is like a spinner or something. They have webs, right? And they have spikes. They don't want to defog, they want a spinner, and I guess they didn't want to run drill. So even though I get burned, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to beat it. And now Beedrill loses here because I am Focus Sash. And it's really nice to have Magic Guard on Alakazam because then I don't have to worry about Stealth Rock or Spikes or anything like that. And it takes a lot of pressure off the Scizor to defog, right? And I can live alongside Tyranitar really safely. Scizor is a good defogger, but it's not a great defogger, and it's not a great rapid spinner. So having heavy duty boots, is a Skarmory, so it doesn't really care about Stealth Rock or any of the other hazards. And then this is also boots. Means that, yes, I like to defog, but I don't have to. It's good for speed on Alakazam, and it's good in case any of these guys get knocked. But that's about it, and it's good for Tyranitar. Alright, this game, we got a Crocodile, which is not the most common in this metagame. But as you can see, it's actually pretty scary here. But we're going to just Brave Bird it, and it gets one shot. That's the Tough Claws difference. Speaking of Tough Claws, again, the Starmie dies. They shouldn't have switched out there, but they would have KO'd me, but died to sand, so it doesn't really matter either way. But I am alive, which they could have prevented if they just stayed in. Here, we knock off the Umbreon just because I don't want it to be able to live. Here I could have predicted them to go for Protect. It was very obvious Protect. And maybe I should have, especially because I had a paralyzed Clefable. But I didn't really feel like I needed to make that play. Fortunately, we find out that their Volcanion can't touch me. Otherwise, they probably would have stayed in. I'm going to sack Clef at that point. Yeah, that's unaware, but Alakazam is really strong. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm forced to burn the Sash on my Zam to take out their own Alakazam. If I had won the speed tie, it wouldn't have been broken, but it didn't really matter because my Volcanion has Sludge Bomb, or Clefable specifically, and so it's able to take it out. It's also there for other things like, I guess, Eternal Floette. Final game of this replay live. I am very proud of this. I think my opponent definitely didn't play the best here. So I go for Pursuit turn 1 just because in case they try to switch out, I like to go for Pursuit. But since it seems like they're just sacking it, I'm going to be able to trap it anyway. And again, I'm not worried too much about hazards here. This Skarmory is an offensive Skarmory, and as you can see, offensive Skarmory very good. It has access to Drill Run, which defensive Skarmory would never run, and that would allow you to beat Aegislash, right? However, the one thing Skarmory can't beat if it's offensive is defensive Skarmory. Look at this, Iron Head. What else are you gonna hit me with? Drill Peck? Okay, so now I have the speed, and I can no longer be flinched, and now I can just Mega Evolve, and I can get my defense boost, and boom, Body Press, one shot. You're dead. You're gone. And now Dragonite comes out, and technically here, if they're special, that's an issue. But as we find out, they're not a special D-Knight, they're a physical D-Knight. Which means what for me? Free Roost. E-Speed does no type of damage, and now I get to Roost. Now at this point, if you're looking at my set, you should already have known that your Aegislash walled me. Here, I don't really know what they were doing here. I guess baiting something, but I could have roosted there and then you would have been really in trouble. Once again, Scizor on this team is the Aegislash answer. It's not the greatest answer. You can definitely beat it if you play it better than my opponents sometimes do. But at the very least, it gives me a defog turn. And with close combat, dropping their defenses, they always go for the King's Shield here. So I once again get to go for Roost, and you can see 63%, I'm outside the range where close combat will KO me. So once again, I live, and now they're not going to go for it because they want to go for that Shadow Sneak. I go for Bullet Punch, they're -2, and they go down. So the Scizor once again beats the Aegislash. We go into my Clef so that I'm unaware. You can see Sludge Wave. If I had been Magic Guard, I wouldn't take the Poison Chip, but I would have been basically one shot. In this particular exchange, it didn't really make any difference because my Moonblast, if they'd been, I guess if they'd been Life Orb, then it wouldn't have made any difference. But it would have made a difference here, aside from me being forced to go into Scizor. And then the Tyranitar can clean up. So yeah, this Tyranitar set is amazing. I really like it. All the 4 moves do work. You want a knockoff user, you want Pursuit to be able to trap Delphox, and to be able to trap, lead Meowstic if they decide to try to switch out. It can trap Starmie. Technically, if they don't have a fighting move, you can trap Aegislash as well. So that's also useful. Unaware Clef, really good. I know anti-synergy with Tyranitar, but it's really imperative for some of these setup guys. And it's Spdef specifically for Greninja. And it used to have Thunderbolt over Thunder Wave, and that's really nice for those Gyarados sets that are so annoying. But Thunder Wave is really good. For example, if my Tyranitar gets weakened or it's dead, then I'm going to lose potentially to Delphox, which is really scary. As you see on this team, if my Volcanion it gets one shot by Psyshock or something, what do I have? I have nothing for it. So having Unaware Clef means I can Thunder Wave you, and I can live any one of your hits. And once you Thunder Wave, I can just Shadow Ball with Alakazam. Quickly, let's talk about Alakazam. If I had Focus Blast on my Alakazam, that would be really nice for the Excadrills. Technically, I think I can also put Counter on this, and that would be nice as well. I'm a big fan of Counter Alakazam with Focus Sash, but I want the Shadow Ball for the Delphoxes, for the opposing Alakazams, and for the Mega Starmies, stuff like that. And of course, for the Aegislash right there, which as you saw, is a major problem. So I think you do need Shadow Ball, and then I really, really, really hate having to use Focus Blast. If I cannot use Focus Blast, I will not use Focus Blast. And so, if you fight me, 90% of my Alakazams will not have Focus Blast, they will have Dazzling Gleam. In this metagame, it would probably be better and safer to have it. However, occasionally it is nice, maybe I'm fighting a Dragonite or something. It's good to have as coverage, and it does hit those dark types. So, and specifically Hoopa, it will hit stronger than Focus Blast would, so there's that. And then Psyshock there for the coverage for the Spdef guys. Of course, Focus Blast would also be better into the Swing Gutra. So, you could put Focus Blast, I wouldn't hate that. 4 attacks Volcanion, you saw a Sludge Wave put in work, and you need the Earth Power for opposing Volk. And then the Scizor is put in work. I don't need to explain that. But yeah, would offensive Skarmory be better? I don't know. I think they both have a place. Everybody looks at the offensive Skarm and says, hey, I'm going to put on the Brave Bird, Drill Run, Iron Head, Sword Stance set. Maybe get a weak armor boost, maybe not. Either way, I'm going to outspeed you, going to sweep your team. I think that's a fantastic way to use Skarmory. I'm really excited to use that set as well. But I think that the defensive set will see more use in future metagames, because having the ability to still be a still flying type, one of the best defensive typings in the game, with one of the best defensive move kits in the entire game. Well, why would I not want to be max HP, almost max Spdef? I can be basically Corviknight at this point. So why are we not running Corviknight? It can also have Tough Claws, boosted body presses, and Brave Birds. That seems like a really useful thing to have. So I think both sets are going to be really valuable in the future, and I wanted to showcase the defensive set in today's live. But that'll be it for me today, and I'll catch you guys next time.